Let's talk Tanya for the 6th of Av. Today's letter, which we will begin, chapter 2 of Igeres HaKodesh, is a letter that Alter Rebbe wrote in 1798, shortly after he was released from prison. The Alter Rebbe was in prison because of trumped-up charges against him, instigated by the opponents of Chassidim at that time. And this was part of a conflict between the Chassidim and the opponents to Chassidim, known as the Misnagdim, that was really raging out of control at that time. Miraculously, the Alter Rebbe was freed, even though that the charges against him were very serious. And in this letter, as we shall see, the Alter Rebbe makes an attempt to lower the temperature in the conflict and perhaps to find a path of reconciliation. The letter begins with the words, Katainti mikol hachasadim umikol ha'emes asher asisa es avdecha. This is a verse from Bereshis. Yaakov at that time is returning from Lavan, and he finds out that his brother Esav is coming towards him with an army of 400 men. And Yaakov prays to God, and Yaakov says these words, Katainti, I am small, mikol hachasadim mikol ha'emes, because of all the kindness and all the truths that you have done with your servant, with me. What does that mean? I'm small because of all the kindnesses that you've done. So, in the biblical commentators and the Mefarshim, there are two ways of understanding this. One of them is, that Yaakov was saying, Rashi says this, that Yaakov says that Katointi means my merits have become small. My merits have become diminished because of all of the miracles that you've done for me and all the kindnesses that you've done to me up at this point. And therefore, Yaakov says, I'm worried that my merits have been diminished to the point that I don't have anything left in the bank to count on right now, that you should continue being kind to me and doing miracles for me. That's one way of understanding the verse. Another way of understanding the verse is, Katointi, I am small. Mikol hachasadim, I am too small to be worthy of all the kindnesses that you have done for me. Now, the problem with both of these interpretations, and either of them is the simple understanding of the verse. The simple understanding is, I am small because of all of the kindnesses that you've done to me. And the two interpretations, one is, my merits have become small or diminished. The other one is, I am too small to be worthy of. The Alter Rebbe says there's actually a simple way to understand these words. Yaakov was saying, yes, I am small and humble because of the kindnesses that you've done for me. And why is that? When God is kind to us, when God showers us with his kindness, that is God's chesed, that is God's embrace of us. God is hugging us. God is drawing us close. God is drawing us near to him. What happens when we come closer to God? When we come closer to God, that is supposed to make us more humble. Because when we're in the presence of God, we're in the presence of the greatness of the King, that should make us feel less significant. So Yaakov is saying, because of all the kindnesses you've done for me, I feel small. I feel small and unworthy of the kindnesses that you're doing for me. And this is the difference the Alter Rebbe says between holiness, kedusha, and klipa, unholiness. In the realm of unholiness, the more kindnesses that it receives, the more bounty that it has, the more arrogant it becomes. On the side of holiness, on the other side, the more God gives us kindness, the more we have, the more gifts that we're given by God, the more humble we become. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe turns to the Chassidim and exhorts them, and he tells them, I know that God has done us an incredible kindness. The danger that the Alter Rebbe experienced was real. It was a mortal danger. And it wasn't only the Alter Rebbe, all of the Chassidim were in danger, because had the Alter Rebbe been convicted and found guilty of treason, then all of his followers also ultimately are linked to the Alter Rebbe. It's a treasonous group. So there was a tremendous victory, a tremendous miracle, tremendous deliverance. And the Chassidim were rightfully so experiencing a state of euphoria. The Alter Rebbe says, but be humble about it. Do not gloat. Do not go over to the Misnagdim, the opponents, and say, hey, look at that. Rather, the Alter Rebbe says, I want you to be humble. I want you to be meek. I want you to extend the olive branch. And the Alter Rebbe concludes by saying, perhaps if this is the way that you behave towards your opponents, maybe they'll react in kind, and our love to them, they will reflect that love back towards us. What an incredible lesson in life in terms of how to handle the different kindnesses that we have, the gifts that we are given. They're supposed to make us more humble. With this, we've concluded this letter. In tomorrow's Tanya, we'll start chapter 3, a letter on the topic of tzedakah.